one of those days where I'm just going to, I want to get this, our big tractor get going here. We got it running. I like it. The response, we put some fuel with 911 in it, keep it from gelling. So, Well, today's going to be that day where I just clean up this mess here. This is just a mess. And I don't like it anymore, so I watched a video from a Minnesota farmer, and it was about GMOs. You know, it's genetically modified plants, seeds, GMO. And you know, I'm all about, you know, growing good crop. And you know, I mostly do vegetables. But this guy was saying that, you know, genetically modified things, it's not harming anybody, but I don't know. I got to do more studies. I wish, you know, people would, well, I don't know what I'm saying there. It's just, it's what people want, you know. I mean, like you said, they've done so many studies on these things, these chemicals, but they're still chemicals, and that's what gets me. You know, it makes a good point in how many people there are in the world these days, and how farmers have to be the ones who are going to supply the food for everybody. They are. I'm farming. Small as I am, I'm still feeding people. And they buy my squash, they buy my potatoes. You know? Are they, you know, my potatoes, if I spray them with all sorts of chemicals? It's like he said, you know, I mean, you can get a better yield from, you know, better yields because, you know, you're keeping the weeds down. You're genetically modifying the plants. Is it safe? I don't know. You know, the way he was sounding, it's not as bad as what people make it out to be. But still, you're still genetically genetically modifying things. You are. You're just. It's very tough. On the other hand, he said that, you know, it's what, as a farmer, it's our responsibility to actually feed and give the people what they want, you know. And so he's at a crossroads because, you know, genetically modifying, you know, the crops, you know, is it a better yield, you're feeding more, or do people just don't want that and they want to, it's organically grown. He sees it in the stores too, where I do. It's organically grown. That means you're not it's not with the, it's not a seed that was genetically modified. But he's right, you know. I mean, in ways, you know, the crop is smaller. Your plant, the actual squash, the actual corn, the actual everything is smaller because you know, it's grown organically. I don't know. I was gonna say, I wish people would give me their opinions. That's what I'm wishing for. I lean very heavily towards, you know, not spraying my crops with anything. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, give me your opinions too, though. I'd like to see them. Well, I gotta pump some water, so I got all this junk I'm gonna take down to the junk pile and burn it. Of course, the plywood I'm not. Wheelbarrow is staying here, and of course the pumping supply stuff is not going. But you know, back to GMOs. I just want to really touch on that because it is important. So I just never really thought about it as much as I until this morning when I watched that guy's video. Said that, you know, you're probably eating things from the store that are genetically modified anyway. I mean, are we? And how much of it is? You know, you really don't know what farmers are growing. You don't. Some of you may, but then you go to the store every day and you buy things and you don't know what's in it. You don't know how even the fruit that's sitting there, unless it's actually marked, and if they're lying to you, you don't know. It says organically grown. It's organic. Some of you may or may not know or pay attention to it. Alright, here's a question right to you. You know, just you got squash right in front of you at the store. One says organically grown. Maybe they're a little smaller. I don't know. I don't know if you can really tell that much. The next ones say GMO, genetically modified. Which ones are you picking off that shelf? You know, tell me about it. Answer. Just say, I would pick this or that, or it doesn't matter. Because when I grow potatoes next year, and squash, they're not going to be genetically modified. They're going to be seed that is just, well, they're not genetically modified seed. You know, the seed can be modified. The farmer can modify it. I can modify it. I can put it in chemicals so it has a healthier way of growing through weeds. It doesn't you know, have a problem with weeds, for example. You know, there's a lot of seed that can, you put it in the ground and it can be in wet for a while. It might not germinate as quickly, and there's a chemical that you can put on that seed that lets that seed sit in the ground for a couple weeks without hurting it. However, that chemical, if ingested by bees, will kill the bees. This farmer that I watched said they take their seed every year and they mix it with this chemical so that if it is wet or a couple weeks go by and then all of a sudden the ground gets cold and the seed doesn't germinate, it won't hurt it. But it's in the ground, and I don't know about, there's some bees that would go in the ground, yes. If they touch that, the chemical will kill them. There are genetically modified seeds that an animal can eat, and it will kill them. But it won't kill us because we have acid in our stomachs and it doesn't hurt us. But it will kill an animal, certain animals. But these, but these, but these genetically modified crops that farmers are growing, they yield better. That's what the whole thing is. And they're saying that, without the genetically modified seed, their corn is smaller, vegetables are smaller, potatoes are smaller, and they don't grow as many. And so we have to feed the world through genetically modified crops. I'm, I'm, I'm going to put fertilizer on my potatoes, to help them start off and grow and be healthy. But that's just a fertilizer, and then after that there will be just manure from my own animals that will go on the fields. I'm not going to spray them with anything, no chemicals. But if I did, tell me, what would you pick? Say, oh, this one was sprayed with herbicide. This was these are not. These are just organically grown. I put fertilizer on them all, but then these ones over here were just tilled and nothing put on them. There's some just manure. And these ones I sprayed a herbicide on them to help them with the weed control. And they were genetically modified to make more potatoes. This plant grew 10 potatoes. My organic ones only grew 6 on each plant. And they're a little bit smaller. Which ones would you buy? That's the question. And are you worried about it? I don't know.